flag salute, please.
Certainly.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Sunshine Law statement. All requirements of the Open Public Meetings Act have been met for this meeting of the Board of Education of the Borough of Oradell. Notice of this meeting was filed with the record of the town news, and all persons requesting such notice. Mrs. Walker, would you read the mission statement?
The Oradell Public School is dedicated to the ongoing pursuit of educational excellence through the comprehensive, innovative curriculum and instruction. The district is committed to providing opportunities for social, emotional, and academic discovery to foster curiosity, courage, and character. Our goal is to prepare our students to become lifelong learners who are self-directed, resilient, productive, and responsible citizens. And this, by the way, is our new mission statement.
Thank you. Roll call.
Mr. Darian?
Yes.
Mr. Griffin?
Yes.
Mrs. Levy?
Yes.
Mrs. Norian?
Here.
Mrs. Shapiro?
Here.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
Mr. Walsh?
Here.
Dr. Westlake? Mrs. Nichols?
Here, open to the public for agenda items only. Okay, not seeing any, we're going to move forward. We're having a presentation by the architect site, so I think we're going to put that first so they can leave. So, Greg, do you want to give us a summary of what we're going to be doing?
Yes, in your board packet is a schedule of costs. This pertains to the work that we were going to do in the basement and the second floor to increase instructional space. Last time we had preliminary drawings, and before that we had just a resolution that we approved the idea and concept so we could move forward with the application to the state, which has already been done. And now we're at the point where we're getting a good idea of the scope of work and the costs associated with the work, and we're going to be using this as a guide towards developing a final solution on how we're going to move forward. So tonight we have Greg Somchin and his associate, I don't know your name. Nathan? David? Okay. Sorry, I can't hear from here. David, if you both can come up to the podium, and I guess this would be just an open session for board members. If you have any questions, just I'll yield the floor to whoever wants to discuss.
Before we do that, can I give a quick overview for the
Oh, sure.
everyone?
Yeah.
So we were brought in and a month ago, and
Is that light on?
You got to hold down the power button. Just push and hold down.
Sorry, for the benefit of the recording device.
And then you'll see the light. Yeah.
okay. Better?
No. Yeah.
Better?
There you go.
Okay. Okay. So a few months ago, we came in, worked with a variety of individuals within the district, from administration, and some of the committee members, developed a variety of concepts to make good use of a lot of the space we have throughout the building. And ultimately, the first project with which we were charged was this lower level space to create the sketches that you've seen over time. We originally put together an estimate that was about $500,000 in hard costs, and typically the way we get to that is using square foot pricing from prior projects. And it's generally a budget. Our experience is that using other projects, using information about the status of the marketplace, our budgets are usually right in the middle of where bids will be received. We typically get bids below our numbers, and we typically get bids above our numbers. And I'm sure for many of you who have been board members for many years and know about construction projects, you can often see how wide a range of bids you get for what is arguably the same exact scope of work, so to see people interpret that differently. We were asked to drill down on that, which that's typically our standard approach to budgeting on those early stages. We were asked to drill down and provide a little more specificity for the purposes of evaluating the project's finances, and while it's a little bit deviates from the standards that we would do for projects like this, we want to make a good impression, obviously. It's one of our first projects working together, and so we broke the project down into the categories that are associated with the Construction Specifications Institute, also known as CSI. That's a industry standard for the categories of construction. And so what you see here does not align perfectly dollar for dollar with our square foot number, but it's within the range that we expected. And again, this is a budget. These aren't actual costs of anything. They are our professional opinions that are associated with the different categories based on our experience, based on the marketplace, based on projects of similar types. And it will be the market that will ultimately drive the actual bids that we get and determine who the lowest responsible bidder is and whether that person's paperwork is in order for purposes of awarding. So with that background, I'm certainly happy to answer any questions that you have if something is unclear, or if I can add information that you don't have.
Yes, I have a question. So these numbers are inclusive of labor?
Yes, so these numbers are basically broken down for labor and material purposes into those CSI categories.
Okay, and the HVAC item number 23, that's putting in a new HVAC unit for the entire space, or is that just HVAC work to modify what we have existing?
So we are removing what you have in place, and we're actually replacing it with 3 different pieces of equipment. Because you have a small space that is divided up into so many smaller spaces, it's difficult to provide one piece of equipment to give you the control, to give you temperature, to give you humidity control, and various things. So our approach to this project is to create 3 different units of different sizes that will be ducted into the individual spaces to give you, for a small space, the control that will never give us a phone call back when we're done.
And you can regulate relative humidity much easier that way.
Exactly right. And so the equipment that we're proposing will work in phases, meaning that when the humidity is registering and it is excessive, there are systems in place as part of this design where the units can run for the purposes of dehumidifying and not overcooling the space. And we are also in the process, one of the things that we are looking to do right now is introduce what's called a reheat coil, because that again will allow the air to get the moisture taken out of it and to keep the temperature at a reasonable level. And again, when you have small spaces like this, those are very difficult to manage, but again, for an investment up front, we believe it will really give you a long-term successful approach to not have to deal with the typical challenges that are associated with educational type spaces. Especially if you can appreciate, I don't know if you experienced this over the last summer or 2, but every one of our districts, because of the heavy rain and the high humidity, everyone was dealing with moisture in their schools and excessive watering areas that you don't want water. So these are just some best practices that we've incorporated into our design to try to minimize the issues.
Is there any line items for demolition or the removal
Yeah, so everything associated with demolition would fall under the division number 2 called existing conditions. So that category covers the removal of the entire ceiling system, the lights, the partition, the flooring. It includes excavation of the concrete to trench so we can tie the new bathroom into the drainage that is underneath the floor side. So everything demolition falls under the category number 2 existing conditions.
What is in the specialties category?
In the specialties category, which is line item number 10, we have things like the folding partition that we're contemplating to allow the flexibility to make the space bigger or smaller. We have things like the restroom accessories, we have grab bars inside the handicap accessible bathroom, we have the partition, we have a whiteboard, we have the signage to comply with barrier-free requirements and to let people know that they're in room 100, 200, so that's the specialty category that deals with those miscellaneous.
You have a whiteboard?
We did. Would you like to remove it?
No.
Yeah.
Do you have any other equipment in there, like computers or anything?
No, so computers and furnishings we don't, but because a whiteboard is something that the general contractor can deliver and install for you, it's not an overly expensive item, we make them responsible for that. And again, what we'll do is, as we're about 85% done with the drawings, what we'll do is we had an opportunity to walk the project through with the administrative team. When we're closer to 95, 98%, we'll send it back for one last look to make sure that we coordinate as much of the information as possible. And then, we found a place for the whiteboard based on what we believe it could go effectively, the limited wall space and other things. If you want to move it, we can move it. If you want to remove it because you have a different thought, maybe you want to get a smart board instead. So we do account for some basic things, unless we're told specifically that we also want A and B. We don't typically include equipment because this is a capital project.
That's why I assumed, that's why I was surprised to hear that was in there.
Oh.
What the communications?
Communication, which is line item 27, that's a placeholder for us for all the telephone and data. We expect that we will be connecting into your network.
That's running all the cables and all?
Right, so it needed a combination of conduit. And again, for us, budgeting purposes, it's a placeholder. Whether you say to us, and we've had districts say this, Greg, we want you to design into your project conduit. Conduit is nothing more than an open sleeve pipe, and we want to place it here, here, and here, finished above the ceiling, and our IT group is going to come in and run the wire after everyone's gone. At the end of the day, you're still paying for it, so we carry a placeholder in our budget, because whether it's to the bidder or whether you have to pay for it yourself, we want to make sure we're covering that eventuality. But that's basically what is covered in that line.
The GC overhead and profit, you have listed 15%. What's 15% of?
It should be 50% of the total.
Of 340?
I don't know because my spreadsheet doesn't show me.
I just, when I do the math, it doesn't seem right, so that's what I was concerned about.
Well, 10% of 340 is 34, plus another half of that, so I guess it's pretty close. It might also include design contingency and the escalation for marketplace.
I mean, to be 15% to add up to it'd be 370 something, so I'm just, what didn't make sense.
Let's see if I can figure out. Yeah, possible. So it is. So the GC overhead profit is a combination of the $340,000 hard costs, the 5% design contingency, and the 4% escalation market conditions. So it's the three numbers above that represents 50%.
Are you finished, Jeremy?
I think so for now.
Okay. Under number 1, general requirements, what, could you break that down? I mean, what we need and then...
Yeah, so general requirements are things like final cleaning, the dumpsters that are going to take the demolition out, the supervision by a project manager who the general contractor is going to put on there. It's all those things that the general contractor will ultimately be responsible for, and doesn't fall under the other construction categories.
Is that his salary included in that?
So it will, general construction contractors are made up of different components. So the supervisors of the project are labor in one sense and their management. The laborers are just that. They are lower skilled individuals that might be doing the hard demolition work or just interning and carrying materials back and forth. And then you have different levels between those. So our numbers, to address Mr. Varian's comment earlier, our numbers, when we tell you that the existing conditions of demolition is $17,000, our numbers include not only the jackhammer, but it includes 5 days of a laborer to chop up the floor. The general conditions are typically the supervision component, while the overhead and profit are the company's profit and overhead costs that might include insurances, bonds, and things of that nature. So those are kind of the breakdowns and where they appear inside the cost estimate of this time.
I have a question. The cost per square feet, not the total, because the total, that brings in the design contingency and escalation and overhead profit. Some of that gets absorbed better with larger projects. And I don't want that to be, since our project is small, to negatively influence our square footage cost. So the 161.34, which is just basically construction detail total, how does that compare to average construction, within the school climate?
So square foot pricing for budgeting purposes is a very standard method by which we will evaluate a school project. And I'll start with the high end and work my way back. Today, if we were building you something new, ground up foundation, building envelope, windows or roof, whether it's an addition or a freestanding building, you are seeing numbers in the range of $350 to $400 per square foot to construct in New Jersey using prevailing wage labor. Then, going down from there, it will depend on the kind of project that you're doing and what's involved. So we see between $250 and $350 a square foot if you're doing something like a science room or a kitchen, where you're doing a lot of excavation, a lot of plumbing, gas work, things of that nature, in addition to the general construction plus cabinetry. The budget that we prepared early on, I want to say, was in the neighborhood of $200 a square foot. Is that right? Less. 150. So we were using about $150 to $200 a square foot, I think, in our original estimates. So the fact that we're seeing this at about 160, the driving numbers, as you can see, your bathroom, it's not an inexpensive bathroom. And I always try to tell people, whenever I come to a public session, typically there are more people in the audience, and I inevitably get someone who just did a residential renovation to their home, they did their kitchen, they did their bathrooms. It's very difficult to compare public sector work to the private residential projects that most of you have experience with because of the prevailing wage, because of the requirements that each contractor has, even just to bid the work. The bonding, which can be several $1,000s. They have to provide us collectively, a bid bond with their bid that costs them money, which means that if they are identified as the lowest responsible bidder and they pull their bid away from you, you can pursue their bid bond in the amount of $20,000 or 10% of their bid. Then they need to provide you a performance bond, which means that they are insured to perform on this project and won't walk away from the project. Then they have to provide a bond that will allow, with a payment bond, that will allow to ensure that they're paying all of their subcontractors and you're not left with bills from somebody else. And then they have to provide a guarantee bond, which is for 1 to 2 years, that the work they provided you. So there's just one example alone where in the residential marketplace, people aren't seeing those kinds of requirements. And that's why in the public sector, inevitably, I have to try to explain to people who think we are crazy with the numbers we bring forth to a project because they believe they can come out with a hammer and do it themselves. And then when we walk them through the paperwork required, the prevailing wage, this is what it is. So to answer your question directly, sorry, I kind of around. The $160 a square foot, we think falls exactly where we expected it. You don't have a lot of floor demolition, but we do have to cut to allow for the new bathroom. We have 2 to 3 pieces of new mechanical equipment while we're moving our others. That can be very, very expensive new equipment. In some cases, there are long lead items for equipment, 8, 10, 12, 16 weeks. So the square foot number, I think, in our opinions right now falls exactly where we were expected. And our expectation is that, again, this is a budget, but our expectation is that we should see some bidders below and some bidders above. 95 to 98% of the time, that's what we see. There's always that 2 to 5% where the marketplace is just saturated. And we are a little bit late. We talked about that a month or so ago, that in the ideal world, project being bid in March or April really have an advantage because your den contractors are locking in, and as contractors get closer to summer, many of them have already filled up with work, so if they get another project, great, but they're not going to come as competitively as they would have maybe a couple of months.
So that tees up my other question about time. And how long do you think it'll be until we're ready to bid?
So the Department of Education applications have gone in. Did we get their approvals yet? So we're waiting for the approvals. Our drawings are 85% done. I think we're going to be ready to bid the first or second week of May, presuming that we have our DOE approvals, and we'll coordinate with Nicole to get her the notice to the bidders, and we'll run the pre-bid meeting, and we'll have a walkthrough of the space to show contractors, but I would say the first or second week of May, we'll be ready to bid.
How long do you anticipate this project to go?
Entire summer.
What does that mean?
It means from the minute you walk out of this building, expect to see contractors on site, and I suspect that it might even go into the fall a little bit, depending on a few items. You'll have the majority of the work done, ready to go, but again, we don't know the mechanical equipment. We know that one of the manufacturers who does a lot of equipment is moving their factory in Mexico, and they're already telling contractors based on certain equipment, which we stayed away from for this project, but certain equipment they weren't going to see until November, December now. That's not the case with yours. We stayed away from that kind of equipment. But again, mechanical equipment could be 8, 10, 12 weeks. So they have to get a contract from us. They have to submit drawings that are called submittals of the mechanical equipment that we can review and approve. And then they order the equipment. From the day they order it, it could be that 8, 10, 12 weeks. So that will be coming in towards the end. And so once we get a better handle on this, we'll put together a schedule for you and let you know where we think it is, but they will absolutely be here from the minute school lets out and probably into September.
So once they walk through and they give us the bids, they know what equipment they're dealing with.
That is correct.
So they tell us they're going to be out by September 3rd, September 15th, and it starts going into October, November. Are there any contracts with penalty clauses in them?
All our contracts have penalty clauses.
And what are they?
$500 a day for liquidated damages or substantial completion.
$500 they liquidated down.
Yeah, so what that means is we, as the design professionals, in coordination with the board and your administrative team, we will identify what's called a substantial completion date. Now, we have to make it reasonable because everyone can say to me, Craig, just make it August 15th, and then we'll start charging them $500 a day after that. Well, that's great, but contractors are not stupid people. All they will do is they will say, there's no way I'm going to get done by August 15th. I'll still give you a bid. I know I'm going to be done by September 15th. So they take the 30 days, they multiply $500, and they include it in their bid. So you're paying yourself for the purposes of knowing that we gave them an unreasonable deadline. So it's really a fine balance that we bring to the table to help you say, look, realistically, you need to be prepared to not occupy that space until October 1. I'm making stuff up, I don't know the exact. Because we want a good competitive price. We don't want the bidder padding his number just to protect himself, knowing that if I get approval on June 1, June to July is 4 weeks, July to August is 4 weeks, August to September is 4 weeks, that's 12 weeks. I know the mechanical equipment's not going to show up for 10. That gives me 2 weeks to rush to put it together, and then I have to put the ceiling in after that. So it's a fine line. Typically, attorneys will review our documents, our specification section. We'll have your board attorney review it, and everyone has their own little version of what they want to do to protect the interests of the district. Typically, the clause that we put in is $500 a day liquidated damages, which means that you don't need a reason to show them that they missed the date. It's a contractual agreement, as has been explained to you by the lawyers, that you missed the date, you start paying us $500 a day. whether it's October 1st or September 1st, whatever it is ultimately in the specification, that's when they start paying. Some contractors pay right away, others will argue there were circumstances beyond their control, so we have to negotiate with them a little bit. It's not an easy process.
Okay. I understand that they're gonna put it into their contract, into their bid, but
Only,
I'm sure it's just where they've not passed all of that, so it does give you some protection.
there's no question, I can tell you, we have successfully collected liquidated damage clauses from many contractors. And in other cases, we've had to fight, and the board has to decide, you want to throw good money after bad. This is a difficult contractor. And if you get a good contractor, none of this ever comes up. The contract never comes out of the drawer. You have a bad contractor, it comes out day one. You start referencing, okay, you're already a week behind schedule, how are you going to make this up? We go from meeting every 2 weeks to meeting every week, so we can monitor more closely. We've had to be out on the site on some occasions, even more regularly than that, and they really just can't seem to get control. And it's about, again, that's why we're later in the game, so contractors don't know how much work they have because there's no guarantee that they're the lowest bidder. So they could still be bidding work and literally be bidding ours while they're waiting for another board to approve theirs, and they go from famine to feast. And now all of a sudden, they have a limited number of resources, everyone's pulling from the union halls. Now that's where the squeaky wheel will get the grease, and you just have to be loud and good architects.
Have we seen pictures or have we seen the drawings?
I have here drawings that we had last board meeting. They're 60% complete, but they're fairly comprehensive. So if you want to review them later, you can just take them.
Okay, thank you. Can you explain, I remember we went on a walking tour. Where's the bathroom gonna go? I guess I can.
It's not where the plumbing pipes are.
Are you familiar with the door that has the stairs that lead you down into the faculty area?
Yes.
Imagine you go down those stairs, and we are constructing a small space to the left, which is going to be used for kind of electrical closet. Straight ahead of you, there's going to be an office, and then to the right is the balance of the faculty.
Yes, okay.
Jump into the closet, walk through the wall, which I know you physically cannot do, and you will now walk into the bathroom. So the bathroom backs up to a little room that we created right at the bottom of the stairs, and it is accessed from that other door in the hallway, so that when you walk through that other door in the hallway, you'll be walking into what is now the new tag room. Immediately to your right will be a bathroom, and then next to that there'll be a storage room, which I'm assuming is for the books.
Yeah.
That makes sense?
Okay.
It's basically for the classroom downstairs.
Yeah, for that.
door is there.
Yeah,
That's the other door to the bathroom.
okay.
The existing bathroom is way down here.
Which is
Okay.
towards the back.
The faculty room. The bathroom we're not touching. This one is going to be along the same corridor wall, but all the way down to the left in the other space.
Any other questions from the board?
I guess one quick question. When you were talking about contractors and some are great and others aren't so great, you're the one though that has the control over getting us the good contractors.
I wish I did. In the public sector, specifically for K-12 and municipalities, the law and the statute read that we will be receiving blind bids, envelopes like the one you get your board packets in. They'll be sealed at a designated date and time. Your purchasing agent and my team will be sitting down with a room full of contractors, and we literally open their bids and we read them aloud. And whoever is the lowest responsible bidder, lowest, the obvious, which is their dollar amount is less than everybody else's. So on a project like this, where we're budgeting for simple math, $500,000, we expect to see bids from $400,000 to $1 million. Because I still am amazed after 30 years that people look at the same exact set of drawings and can be that far apart in what they think it costs. That's the lowest part, that's the easy part. The responsible part is that we have to look through that bid to make sure all their paperwork is in place. And only then do we award to that contractor. So we have zero control over who bids this, because if they are pre-qualified, by the Department of Community Affairs in the state of New Jersey, they are allowed to bid this. If they are on the, if they're on what's called the debarred list, we check that. Where they're not allowed to bid, we immediately reject their bids and we throw them out. But we have no independent say. You could have had a horrible experience with a contractor a year ago, and if their paperwork is in order, and they are the lowest bidder, by law you have to award it.
So you will, do you know most of them? So I mean.
You know many of them, yes.
Right, so.
So
Are we gonna
when I show up at the
know-
board meeting with a smile or a frown, it will tell you what we're all going to embark on together for the next several months.
Okay, that's what I'm asking, right.
Yeah.
You can't influence it.
I cannot influence anybody or anything. Those that have tried before me have ended up in jail.
We don't want that.
And I don't look good in orange.
And if the lowest bidder also happens to have 10 large projects in the summer, that's when you become the squeaky wheel?
So,
That's all we can do, because you don't know their pipeline, right? When
So,
you're
but we
bidding.
do. So there is a document called Total of Uncompleted Contracts. Every bidder is pre-qualified for a specific dollar amount. There are some contractors, like the very large companies whose name you probably recognize if I shared them, they have an unlimited rating. But most contractors that are going to pursue this scale of a project probably have a pre-qualification of $1 million, $2 million, $3 million. When they bid this work, they need to look at the list of all their other projects, add it to their bid, and that total must be less than their uncompleted contracts amount. The argument and the logic is that the Department of Education and the Department of Community Affairs has pre-qualified these contractors based on their history. So if I want to open a construction company today, and I did a couple of small projects, the Department of Community Affairs would probably give me a pre-qualification of $500,000 to start doing work. But I couldn't open up a shop today and get a $10 million pre-qualification. Most contractors build up to that, getting bigger projects, renewing their pre-qualification every year, getting a bigger pre-qualification limit. That's how these large companies end up doing that. So we will not be saddled with someone. We just had a bid recently where, and again, this just amazes me, the contractor's pre-qualification amount was $500,000. His bid was $750 or something. So just his bid alone wouldn't have gotten him the job, let alone the fact that he may or may not have uncompleted contracts. So we're not going to be saddled with someone who is completely overwhelmed. We might be saddled with someone who's a little overwhelmed because what the state did not take into account was what I just shared with you. They could have opened a bid last week. We've gotten the bid submitted this week. No one's awarded yet. And the law says that if they both get awarded at the same time, that there's a reasonable threshold. If they end up pre-qualified at $1 million and now they're $1.1 million, you know, it's not the end of the world because by the time they start your work, their uncompleted contracts will go down by $100,000 because they're going to get another payment and it balances out. But we won't be straddled with someone who has $10 million worth of work and can't handle $10 million worth of work.
I have